We need Greenland.
There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States.
I'm afraid the Americans are not going to stop. We don't know if they're going to attack Greenland militarily or not. We will defend it, and in that case, we would be at war. We would be fighting each other, which is completely absurd.
First, Trump alienates us from our neighbors in the South because he decides to capture a leader of a sovereign country. But now all of his bluster about Greenland is making one of our most trusted allies distance themselves from us.
Can you just reiterate then to our Danish allies that you would condemn Trump going into Greenland, just to be clear?
Well, let me be really clear about Greenland. The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. Denmark is a close European ally, a close NATO ally, and the future, therefore, has to be for Greenland, for the Kingdom of Denmark, and only for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. And we're absolutely clear about that.
The Danish Prime Minister's told Trump to stop the threats about Greenland. Do you agree with her?
Well, I'd stand with her.
Okay.
And she's right about the future of Greenland.
Okay.
The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is definitely worried about what Trump plans to do with Greenland. He's usually very circumspect in terms of trying to criticize the U.S. at all because of the very close relationship we've had for years. But even he seems to be alarmed at what Trump is saying, what Katie Miller is saying, what Stephen Miller is saying about how Greenland may be next after capturing the leader of Venezuela because, in Trump's own words, we need oil. Marco Rubio going on shows saying that we couldn't afford to have Venezuelan oil go to Russia, China, Iran, that we needed to take it for ourselves. That language is exactly what Trump is using about Greenland, about how strategically it's important for us, our national security. Stephen Miller has gone as far as to say nobody will militarily fight us if we try to take over Greenland. Well, they are taking notice in NATO and not just in the UK.
If the United States attacks a NATO country, there is no alliance. We have an alliance with the Americans and with other NATO countries to have our territories protected from others taking it. And if you start taking territory from your allies, that's not compatible with being allies. That's the actions of enemies, not of allies. So it would be the end of the Western alliance. Nobody's going to want to be in an alliance with someone that tries to take territory from allies. But I don't think it's the most likely scenario. I think the more likely scenario is that the United States is going to make an economic offer to the Greenlanders, trying to bribe them into becoming part of the United States, which is equally unacceptable. I mean, imagine China going to Hawaii, trying to bribe the people there to leave the United States to become part of China. Greenland is not a colony. It's an integrated part of Denmark. It is no more a colony of Denmark than Alaska or Hawaii is a colony of the United States.
The UK Prime Minister has made it clear that Greenland and how Greenland should be governed is up to Greenland and Denmark. And the Denmark Prime Minister has said that any takeover by the US would be the end of NATO. In a very stunning moment, heads of states across Europe came together to issue a statement against the United States because they are so alarmed with the language that Trump is using about literally going and taking land that belongs to a NATO country. Very similar to, of course, to what Putin has done with Ukraine. They put out this statement. The statement itself, just the act of putting out a statement, is astonishing. Its language, it says, the Arctic security remains a key priority for Europe and it is critical for international and transatlantic security. NATO has made clear that the Arctic region is a priority and European allies are stepping up. We and many other allies have increased our presence, activities, and investments to keep the Arctic safe and to deter adversaries. The Kingdom of Denmark, including Greenland, is part of NATO. Security in the Arctic must therefore be achieved collectively in conjunction with NATO allies, including the United States, by upholding the principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the inviolability of borders. These are universal principles, and we will not stop defending them. You would think this statement was put out after an action by Putin. But no, It's an action by the United States, once thought of as the leader of democracy and the upholder of international law. The statement was put out by the leader of France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, the United Kingdom, and Denmark. Now, usually, putting out a public statement like that is not something that you do with a friend. With friends, you have conversations in private. They are so alarmed by the language coming out of this White House, they are putting out a public statement, the kind of warning across the bow, so to speak, that you would put with somebody that you do not know and can trust how they act. We essentially are acting untrustworthy, erratic, because, of course, it's all based on Trump's whims and what he decides, and apparently whatever Stephen Miller decides. So worried about these NATO countries are coming together to rebuke this kind of language and to warn Trump against taking over Greenland. Shockingly, this is an actual conversation being had.
Mr. Miller said that the U.S. government, obviously, Greenland should be part of the U.S. That is absurd. I've got a couple of buddies that call me cranky. You know what makes me cranky? Stupid. What makes me cranky is when people don't do their homework. What makes me cranky is when we tarnish the extraordinary execution of a mission I fully support in Venezuela by turning around and making insane comments about how it is our right to have territory owned by the Kingdom of Denmark. Folks, amateur hour is over. You don't speak on behalf of this U.S. Senator or the Congress. You can say it may be the position of the President of the United States that Greenland should be a part of the United States, but it's not the position of this government because we are a co-equal branch. And if that were to come to pass, there would be a vote on the floor to make it real. Not the surreal sort of environment that some deputy chief of staff thinks was cute to say on TV. So you want to get me back to thanking the president for all the good things he's doing? Then give him good advice.
In response, Denmark is actually strengthening their military, which of course Trump decides to just dismiss. And the fact of the matter is we already have a strong military arrangement with Greenland, which they have voted on to agree to give us access. We have a space base there. And last year, we entered into an agreement to expand our forces there. This is probably something that will go away or be limited, because if you have just agreed to work with a partner with the expectation that it is a partner, and that partner instead talks about militarily taking over without your right or say, I imagine you're not going to work with that partner anymore, showing why diplomacy negotiations work, not this military takeover. That instead of having more access, we may very well have a whole lot less.
It's also difficult to deal with people that do not accept facts, and it makes no impression on them when we tell them the facts. We heard President Trump mock Denmark about how we have added a dog sled to the defense of Greenland, when the reality is that we have added more than 5 billion euros, 2 frigates, 3 large unmanned planes, many other capacities are on their way. And we only do that to accommodate the American fantasy that Greenland is threatened by China and Russia. But we don't even get any credit for that because they just keep saying that all they've added is a dog sled. So it's really hard, and it's also hard to see what can we do for the Americans, what can we give them that they don't already have, because they already have unlimited military access to Greenland that they don't use, and they could extract all the minerals that they wanted if they would just put up the investments. So there's absolutely no upside. There's nothing they need in Greenland that they do not already have exclusive access to. And the best thing for them would be to talk to us like normally and ask if there's anything more that they could get, and they could get it. But the idea that they will annex Greenland, attack it, bribe it into becoming part of the United States is very, very dangerous. And it may be one of the most illegitimate land claims ever in history.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.